Bullying is a childish yet ever so prominent behavior both within schools and outside of them. American CDC studies have shown that it leads to greatly increased risks of mental health issues as well as suicides for both bullying victims and the perpetrators themselves. However, although physical harm and especially the loss of life is certainly a massive problem these days, bullying has another effect which I believe is substantially more concerning. The British Independence paper published an article back in 2009 containing many tales of pupils attending primary or secondary school who had been bullied by their peers, according to the article. The very unfortunate reason that they seemed to have been targeted was simply because they were doing well in school. The first victim of the article, Tommy Stenton, said that he thought he was a target for multiple reasons. He first mentioned that he had recently transferred schools, so he had yet to make any friends. Later, though, he said that his teacher didn't help. She used to say to the other kids that they weren't doing as much work as me, and they'd have to stay in at break, and they didn't like that. As Tommy implies in the latter portion of his statement, the bullies decided that, instead of trying to improve so they didn't have to miss their break, they'd just bully Tommy instead to achieve the same effect. Tommy then decided that if I didn't do as well, they wouldn't pick on me as much, so I used to try harder to get stuff wrong and act more stupid. This behavior, referred to as dumbing down in the article, was so out of control in the United Kingdom that, according to research from the International Beat Bullying Organization, over 50% of young people in the UK are affected by bullying, which means an absolutely huge impact of achievement if millions of children are dumbing down and not meeting their target attainments. Sadly, beat bullying all but collapsed around late 2014 when their ambitious and somewhat wasteful spending left them with debts they couldn't repay. But about half of all students around the world still suffer from bullying, according to their mid-2014 studies. And if all of those students learn that no good achievement goes unpunished, well, it's quite possible that a very large chunk of our society in about 7 or 8 years is going to be hiding their identities and doing things absolutely stupid in order to fit in, out of fear that some mean group of people is going to make them feel awful again if they don't. Tommy was different from most in his school because of his academic performance, but there are many who report being bullied in school because of a different difference. In 2017, the 26-year-old actor Ollie Alexander said that he had been bullied in school because, unlike seemingly anyone else in his school, he was gay. As it turned out, he was far from alone. He confessed that what struck me is how really good we are at hiding things. If I had been able to be honest with people, it would have helped. The problem in his community's case was that, probably thanks to the bullies, they all felt alone and that they couldn't share that they were different to anyone without being made fun of. The only solution that all these people saw was to hide themselves and act like they were just like everyone else to avoid being targeted. This, again, could very well lead to a whole lot of people trying their hardest not to do anything they're not supposed to do, since they're used to being humiliated and depressed just for being noticeable. So, we know that bullying is a problem worldwide, and we know that it can have a huge impact on society, since so many children are trained to hide their true identities or do things that are absolutely stupid, just to escape from the harmful and depressing feelings brought on by bullies. But what can we really do about it? That's the question that practically destroyed beat bullying, but if they'd had the proper funding to experiment with their ideas, their campaign certainly would have gotten somewhere. In early 2009, beat bullying launched a cyber mentor scheme, providing a place for pupils to go online to seek assistance and support. The Independent reported that students, especially males, that tried this program particularly liked it because they weren't bothered by the gender of their so-called cyber mentors because they never met in person. The problem with this solution is that, while sure it would help current bully victims cope and stop feeling bad, it would also ward off the bullies to just go find new people to bully. And since bullying usually ends up involving violence in some way, this essentially just teaches the victims who don't stop at dumbing down or who turn to suicide that violence is okay since they were abused themselves, creating more bullies. Therefore, I think the best solution to get the best handle on the situation is for schools to offer some sort of counseling to students who feel the need to bully to find out why that need is there, and use that info to solve the situation. Say, for example, a bully is used to turning to violence because they were abused as a child. This counselor could then talk to the guardian who abused them to attempt to solve the problem, or in an extreme situation, they could just try to find the child a new guardian. And I know this type of counseling does exist, but Most of the counseling I've seen is aimed towards victims to help them cope. A slightly more aggressive approach could theoretically eliminate the problem altogether by just getting rid of the bully in the first place instead of forcing victims to continue to deal with them or to turn to bullying or violence of some sort themselves. There are plenty of bullying victims who have gotten over the incidents thanks to counseling or support in some way, but I feel like schools are focusing too much on their end of the ordeal and that the problem could better be solved with this aggressive stance.